Welcome to this explainer. Okay, we are jumping right in today because we're looking at an absolute heavyweight bout in the luxury electric SUV space. We are putting two incredible but vastly different 100,000-pound machines head-to-head. In one corner, we've got the avant-garde, hyper SUV newcomer, the Lotus Eletre, and in the other, the classically refined, established premium cruiser, the Audi Q8 e-tron. Now, this isn't just a simple comparison of 0 to 60 times, it's honestly a fascinating clash of two completely different automotive philosophies. Let's get into it.
To really set the stage, I want you to think about this quote from the reviewers. When did Lotus ever make one of those? It just perfectly captures the massive, honestly shocking pivot we're witnessing. For decades, Lotus was defined by the mantra, simplify, then add lightness. They built these tiny, incredibly agile track cars. Fast forward to today, and they've launched a 2.5-ton, 5-meter-long, ultra-luxurious electric SUV. It is a radical departure that completely rewrites their entire brand history. As we go through this explainer, you're going to see exactly how well that massive gamble is paying off against a serious industry titan like Audi.
Here's our roadmap for today. A clash of philosophies, power and performance specs, inside the luxury cabins, the driving dynamics, price and efficiency, and finally, the verdict. Part 1. A clash of philosophies. The hyper-performance newcomer versus the established titan. Moving to Section 2. Power and performance specs. The objective data shootout. So when we look at the battery and motors, it becomes super obvious very quickly that these vehicles have totally different goals. The Lotus just dominates the raw data. It hits a top speed of 265 kilometers per hour compared to the Audi's 210. And check out the architecture. The Lotus uses a state-of-the-art 800-volt system, which means ultra-rapid charging, whereas the Audi is sticking with a more standard 400-volt system. They're actually neck and neck on maximum WLTP estimated range, both floating just under the 600-kilometer mark, but the Eletre is clearly built from the ground up to be a hyper SUV.
I mean, just look at that number, 918 horsepower. If you spec the highest-end Eletre R, you are getting an absolutely staggering amount of power. For context, the top-tier Audi Q8 e-tron maxes out at 503 horsepower, so the Lotus is giving you roughly 415 more horsepower than Audi's sportiest offering in this lineup. That's practically double.
And this perfectly illustrates how all that power actually translates to the road. The Lotus crushes the 0 to 100 km/h sprint in a blistering 3.0 seconds. The Audi takes 4.5 seconds. Now, 4.5 seconds for a giant SUV is nothing to sneeze at for sure, but the Lotus is in literal supercar territory here. It just gets off the line substantially quicker.
Section 3. Inside the luxury cabins. This is where the real battle happens.
Now, you might assume that a brand like Audi, which has literally decades of experience crafting some of the finest interiors on the planet, would easily win here against a company historically known for bare-bones track cars. But let's look at them side by side. The Audi Q8 e-tron is, well, it's exactly what you expect. Classically Audi. It uses their established, proven playbook of satin chrome, piano black, and rich leathers. It's incredibly ergonomic, beautifully screwed together, but it does feel like the current generation of a familiar formula. The Lotus Eletre, on the other hand, goes for a futuristic, tech-heavy vibe. It pushes the boundaries with high material innovation, making it feel like a completely new generation of luxury. Reviewers from Autocar were actually stunned when they sat in the Eletre. One of them said, "The material quality in here is off the scale good." They went on to point out that while the Audi is very nice, the Lotus is working incredibly hard to establish its credibility as a true luxury car, and it actually pulls it off. It genuinely out-luxuries the Audi on the inside. That is just a massive accomplishment for Lotus. All right, Section 4, the driving dynamics, defying physics and brand expectations.
So how do these massive machines feel out on the open road? Well, if you're a purist, hoping the Lotus still drives like a tiny Elise, I've got news for you. Physics are physics. But the twist here is that the Eletre defies its own brand expectations by being an incredibly sophisticated cruiser. Reviewers found it has a wonderfully compliant ride with excellent body control. It's polite, and it's comfortable. Ironically, when testing the sporty Audi Q8 e-tron variant, reviewers noted that while it's quiet and refined, it has a slightly firmer ride that actually misses some of the suppleness the Lotus manages to deliver. So crazy enough, the Lotus is actually beating the Audi at the comfort game in some areas.
Section 5. Price and efficiency. Let's talk financial realities.
Okay, before we go ahead and hand the crown to Lotus, we have to talk cash, because the established German titan strikes back hard here with a very significant advantage. 20,648 pounds. That is the exact starting price gap between these two vehicles in the UK market.
The Audi Q8 e-tron starts at around 65,100 pounds, while the Lotus Eletre demands 85,700 pounds for its base model. The Audi is markedly cheaper, making it a massive value proposition in this premium luxury segment.
Plus, the Audi Q8 e-tron wins out on everyday efficiency. It uses around 19.7 kilowatt-hours per 100 kilometers, whereas the heavier, way more powerful Lotus Eletre consumes 22.5 kilowatt-hours. So what does that mean for you? It means the Audi is cheaper to buy up front, slightly cheaper to run on a daily basis, and manages to squeeze out just a little bit more maximum electric range from its battery.
Finally, Section 6, the final verdict, choosing your electric philosophy.
We've seen the data, we've explored the interiors, and we've talked cash. So who are these cars actually built for? Well, the Lotus Eletre buyer is someone who seeks pure, unadulterated performance wrapped up in an avant-garde design. They don't mind spending top dollar for an ultra-luxurious tech-forward hyper SUV that makes a really bold statement and features that bleeding-edge 800-volt charging. On the flip side, the Audi Q8 e-tron buyer is someone who prioritizes reliable comfort, understated status, and seamless daily utility. They want an incredibly refined, quiet driving experience, and they clearly recognize the undeniable financial value the Audi offers at its much lower price point.
Which leaves us with this final, genuinely fascinating question. What happens when a brand's new chapter completely rewrites its history? You know, when Porsche put its badge on the Cayenne SUV decades ago, the purists howled. But it funded the company's future and proved they could master a totally new segment. Lotus is attempting that exact same leap today with the Eletre, stepping way outside its comfort zone to deliver a truly spectacular luxury machine that rivals the absolute best in the world. Whether you'd go for the audacious Lotus or the sensible sophistication of the Audi, it is just an amazing time for EV innovation. Thank you all so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope you found these insights as fascinating as I did. See you next time.